Hey, all right. Welcome to day 3 of the Truth Files. I feel like my glasses might be giving too much reflection. Hard to see my eyes. You may notice today I appear to have had a shower and done my makeup. So today was my first client call. So even though today is day 3 of the Truth Files, this would be day 10 of being in Costa Rica. And so I took about a 2 week window off of having any direct client work, and that allowed me to move before I left for Costa Rica and then give me a little bit of time to actually get settled in. So, my manifesting generator self, I find tends to underestimate the amount of earth time it takes to do things. And so I thought, okay, just give myself, a couple of days to land here. I can do a work block, that kind of thing. Oh, no, hang on. I had a notification popping up there. Um, just land in, give myself a couple days. I can do work blocks. So this is one of the things I'm noticing right now. So I'm day 10 here, and the amount of bandwidth and energy that it has taken to really settle in here and feel comfortable and grounded, that has taken me by surprise. I don't feel bad. I just feel like everything is taking a lot of time or a lot more time than is usual. So, when you're back at home, you know exactly where everything is. You've got kind of a routine, everything in terms of resources and supplies and things that you need, like if you've got to get things, if you've got to see people, if you've got to locate things, all that type of thing. So, that's completely different when you're in a different community, never mind when you're in a different country or different culture, because it's not like apples to apples. You're not finding the same chain store or anything like that. Even how resources are grouped and what's essentially normal for grouping things together is different. And so just finding out where I can buy certain things, and then also planning my routes to that, because some of them I can walk to, some things I need to take transportation to. So it's just a lot of reconfiguring and figuring, and this kitchen isn't my kitchen. So I'm using a gas stove for the first time in my life, which is wonderful. I actually really love the gas stove, but I'm adjusting to how to cook on the stove and the different temperatures and how long certain foods will last in the fridge, and just getting myself looked after has taken a bit of extra work. I hung laundry to dry for the first time in my entire life this week. I just did my second load of laundry today, and then the wonderful host, Liz, it's short for Lisette, so Liz, um, let me know that my hanging laundry was being rained on. So that was another thing. Today was the first rainstorm of being here. And technically, this is the rainy season, and there really hadn't been any rain. I'd heard some light sprinkles and patters overnight a couple of times, but this morning, early in the morning, it was a deluge, like it was a rainstorm, which just came on the heels of the howler monkeys sleeping close to the house and being real loud. Apparently, they start kicking up at about 3:30, 4 a.m. So there was that, and then this deluge of a rainstorm. So I was up really early today, and I thought, oh, well, there goes my workout, because it was like torrential rain. And I still need to figure out how to turn off this autofocus, this center stage thing, driving me nuts. Couldn't figure it out yet. Um, so I didn't think I was going to be able to go for my workout because I've got my rain gear here, but I wasn't super interested in walking in that. Like that was, come on, come back to me. Come back to me. Yeah, like it was just. torrential. So it eased off, and I was able to, within a couple of hours, it was completely finished, and I was able to head out and get a little bit of a workout. And then today was the first client call that I'd had in a couple of weeks, and it felt so good. Oh my goodness. So I had sort of deliberately kind of concluded a lot of client work before I was making this move so that I would have the total space to be able to make this transition. This thing is making me crazy. Which has been really wonderful. I've really appreciated the space. And then it also felt really, really, really good to get back into doing the work that I love. Because, and I speak about things from the perspective of your dharma, so your fullest expression, who you really are meant to be. And so when I'm doing the work that I'm really meant to be doing, it's so good. It's such a great expression. So it felt really good to be back in that today and had a lot of flow there. So that was wonderful. And on that note, yesterday I found a couple of additional resources. There is a vegetable stand that opened up right below the gym that I'm going to. And so it's like an indoor market basically. And so way more produce and selection that I found than the local supermarket and much better prices. So that was really nice to stumble into. And then right beside that was a sandal, an outdoor footwear company that was based in what would be the easiest way to term this? Like orthopedic, I think essentially. So I had a great conversation. The lady is originally from Colorado. And so full English speaking. And it was funny because partway into the interaction, I said, "Oh my gosh," because I noticed I was just talking away and asking all kinds of questions. And I was like, "Oh my God, I had no idea how starved I was for an English language conversation." And it's the truth. I mean, I haven't been walking around feeling deprived or frustrated, really, even. I mean, the sense of I would like to be able to converse a little bit more easily, but I've been getting by, like I've been using my phone and doing some translate and, a little bit of back and forth that way when I need to. But I haven't felt li- like deprived consciously until I started having this conversation. And I was like, oh my goodness, I can't believe how good it feels to be able to have a fluent conversation because and I think it's cultural too, because I mean, this could have been, an English speaker from Denmark or Germany or something like that. And so I think that there are, cultural things too, where humor is similar and inflections are similar. And because I mean, Colorado is not that far from where I'm originally from, in Saskatchewan. And so I think, just some cultural familiarity. I understood it because I mean, there are so many immigrants in Canada now. But I totally understand why people sort of gather and cluster in their own cultural groupings because it really there's a frequency to it. There is a shared I don't want to say the word isn't ethos, but there's just this, a shared experience and a shared perspective that is just very different in different cultures. Not good or bad, but that familiarity and sort of being able to slip into something and have the conversation be really quick and easy. And then you can also like politely interrupt and still have flow without getting completely knocked off track and things like that. So it was just a real eye opener. And I mean, I'm talking to friends and family back home and having lots of interaction like that, but still, like just in terms of when I go out in the world to have a really easy, fluent conversation, it felt really, really good. So I was like, oh my gosh, thank you. And so it was really neat. Like she toured me around her little shop there. I'm for sure going to buy from her because I stopped in there because I need sandals. Like I am woefully unprepared in terms of footwear. And like even this shirt, this is way too heavy to be here. Like if you're coming to Costa Rica, the lightest, skimpiest clothing possible. Like tank tops, spaghetti straps, very, very light fabric. Like this is just a basic cotton t-shirt, and I'm too hot in this. So just that kind of thing. But and then sandals, like even having your feet covered up in runners and things like that is pretty hot. So I wanted a really nice pair of sandals. And she imports from a local tribe that weaves. So she uses this authentic upper that's woven. And then the sole is an orthopedically correct sole. So I was very impressed by this. And so she showed me her shop that was upstairs. And she married a Tico, and his name is Diego. Her name is Leanne. And so he was upstairs, in their little shop assembling these sandals. And so, she showed me around, and they've just opened because this whole complex where my gym is brand new. And so there's a brand new Italian market in there, this vegetable stand, this little footwear company. So it's really neat. It's like a burgeoning little space. And it felt really good to make some contact. And then she told me about a yoga class that's close by. So, I mean, it's just, these little conversations you'll learn about, like through her, I learned about the yoga class, and through my host, I learned about the grocery stores and the bus schedules and, things like that, or how to take the local transportation, collectivos. They're kind of like the local taxi drivers, that kind of thing. So just all these little tips and tricks that you start picking up on when you have like little conversations with people. So this camera is going to make me crazy. So I'm going to try to keep my hands still because it seems like anytime I move my hands, the camera moves. So I'm going to stay very, very still. Okay, so focus. I wrote down some notes to see what else I could talk about today. Oh yeah, so a few days ago, I really took it pretty easy because I think just the initial adjustment and getting myself fed and all of that kind of thing. And then there was a whole family staying here for a couple of nights, and they kind of took over like they took over the kitchen and the living space. So it was a little awkward. Um, I wouldn't say they were like super duper friendly. So, yeah, so I was happy to see them go. So I took a couple of days to really just kind of go inward. And this is going to be a TMI kind of situation probably. So again, watch your children or whatever you want to do in terms of topics and whatnot. But I did talk about menopause earlier or reference that. But in part of this perimenopause journey, and really paying attention to naturally the signals of your body through this whole process. As I was preparing to leave, I've had a lot of unusual pattern in terms of my period and my cycle. And so I've had really extended flow a couple of times, and I'm in another stretch of that now too. And so just having extended periods of bleeding, I get kind of tired and inward. So I'm really taking that time to nourish myself and to go inward. But that was happening over the past couple of days. I've been to my gym 4 times now, so it feels really good. Again, culturally, it's very interesting. There's a handful of real gym bros there, and it's not a big space. And so these guys just talk and shout, and it's kind of like, hey, ba, 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 like there's a lot of that kind of high testosterone happening. And so here also culturally, there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of respect for personal space. Um, so, or just a different level of what respectful personal space is. I mean, even just for example, today I was taking up a very small space. I was beside my bench and I'm in front of a mirror. And so like a bench is right beside me. I'm doing some squats facing a mirror, and this girl literally comes into the gym and stands in front of me at the mirror and starts like adjusting her outfit. And then, I went back to the spot that I was in, and I was doing heavy squats, like goblet squats. And she's standing in front of me and extends her arms like this. So she's like, about this far away from me. Her arms are like out in front, and she starts doing some squats. And I was just like, all right. So my space is your space. And like, so just adjusting to some of these cultural things. But one of the things is that I figured out There's kind of a couple routes to this little area I go to where my gym and my vegetable stand are. And one of them is through the back roads to get there and like side streets and that kind of thing. And then also I can go straight to the beach and walk along the beach to get to the same spot. So I've been doing that because I can get so I do that in my runners on the way there, but then on the way back, on the way home, I can just take my shoes off, walk in the sand on the way home, and then I just jump into the water in my workout gear and have an ocean dip at the end of my workout. So that has felt fantastic in terms of they run things a little more sustainably here. So if you're in a resort and that kind of thing, like air conditioning, hot water, whatever, all of the time. But in the actual local areas, they really try to be green and sustainable. And so here, she runs hot water from 4:30 to 8:30 in the evening. So if I want a shower that's got hot water to it, that's when I can shower. And she'll turn it on if I ask, but at other points in the day, but it's really not that big a deal because when you're hot and sticky, it actually feels really good to get into just base temperature shower. Like that feels pretty fantastic. So I've been doing that. So after my workouts, I'll have these showers that are technically cold showers. I mean, it's not ice cold, but that feels amazing, actually. So living differently that way, I get an ocean dip and then I can rinse off in not hot water, which is good for you on a lot of levels. And then, like I said, I do my washing and then everything is hung to dry. So your clothes are getting sunlight and, natural antibacterial properties of fresh air and sunlight, and you're not using a whole bunch of energy and, all of these kinds of things. So it's a different way of living. It's simpler. It's less convenient, but more connected, more grounded, more natural, and I don't dislike it. I'm not missing those conveniences very much. I mean, some of the groceries, like, yeah, I mean, the food and the groceries right now, I would say I'm missing because it's definitely not any cheaper to buy in terms of what I would be spending in Canadian dollars. And I mean, when I buy the organic, it's probably triple the price, so things aren't packaged. Like I bought spinach. I bought spinach yesterday and I opened the bag and I'm like, oh, the spinach is on like sticks, right? And I'm like, I've never actually seen spinach in the wild. And so it's thick and robust spinach, like it's more robust than any spinach I've ever had back home, but I'm certainly not opening a bag or a box and having all of this spinach just fly out. Like I'm having to peel it off of the stems. Um, so it's a lot, everything is just much closer to the source. There isn't really anything pre-made or pre-cut. Um, yeah, so it's not as convenient. And I don't know if I think I mentioned this, but the chicken that I got, it wasn't organic chicken. I couldn't find organic chicken, or could I find organic chicken? But it was something like it was crazy expensive. So I was like, well, I'll just, because I also know that just in general they've got better um, processing practices here than in North America. So I thought I'll give it a try. And so I got boneless, skinless chicken breast and cooked it thoroughly and everything, but it tastes like the chicken that's like 21% meat protein. Like there's a rubberiness to it. And so it just doesn't taste like the organic chicken that I bought back home. So I'm gonna have to figure out my meat situation, or if it's just a prompt to go more vegetarian again. So there's that. Let's see. Yeah, I think I've mentioned everything about how I'm adjusting now. I'm feeling better. Like I wouldn't have said that I felt bad before, but I'm feeling like more sort of myself because truly, like initially, In the last few days, when I was, no, not even in the last few days, it was probably like on the last day, like on the way to the airport, I started to get pretty afraid. Like the last, like shit's about to get real. I remember this comparison is that when I was 18, I went away to college. I had a scholarship to play ball and softball. And and I was super excited for it until the day that I had to leave. And then I just like kind of turned into a puddle and I was crying on the front step and and I basically cried every day that I was there. And then eventually I was there for about a month and my dad came and collected me. So I never stayed there. And then, I mean, with then at the end of that semester, that's when my mom was diagnosed with terminal lung cancer. So I don't know that I would have stayed there knowing what was happening back at home. So, I trust in the divine outcome of all things. Um, but I also remember leaving by myself and not having enough of a sense of self and going into total collapse. And no understanding human design now, what I know about that is that I am an open identity center. And so my environment really strongly affects my sense of self. And so until you're aware of that and know how to really develop sense of self, people with open identity centers can end up feeling essentially untethered and ungrounded and just completely like lacking even understanding who they are when they get into an environment that isn't correct for them. And so that experience was a really pivotal experience for me because like I now I understand that what happened is I went into total collapse and I wasn't able to self-source. Like I didn't know how to do all of that. I didn't realize how much of a sense of identity I got from my family, my community, my culture, my city, like all of those kinds of things. So when that all went away when I was 18, I wasn't able to ground myself at all. I wouldn't have even known what that word was. Nobody was saying that word back then. It's many moons ago, right? That's like 30 years ago now. Is that right? 30 years ago. Um, so this has felt like a full circle moment of that, of being so solid in myself and grounded in myself that I can go to other environments and maintain a sense of self and a sense of identity, even if my environment is completely different. And so I knew that part of this was one of those full circle moments to that. And so when I was leaving, when I was preparing to leave, all of that stuff was coming up for me again. And that was challenging. Like there was a lot of tears around that. And now I have the awareness of how to self-soothe and how to move myself through those kinds of things and be aware of what's being triggered in the moment. But that's like I compared to when I was 18 years old, I didn't know how to reground myself and establish a sense of home within myself, completely independent of my environment, like a real sense of true identity, true connectedness that transcends anything in the environment. So that's been really cool. And that's been like, that's what part of this is for me, is to be able to take my home to turtle, right? To take my home on my back, to have home be here, no matter where I am on the globe. So that's been part of it. And then another time that, uh, it was kind of like, well, shit's getting real and I don't want to do this, was when I was having our first child, Brendan. So I was 22 then. And so you have 9 months to prepare for a baby to come. So you're very well aware that a child is on the way. And we were excited and looking forward to the birth of this child. And then labor things started. And what ended up happening is that I had to have my water broken because it had been leaking for a day or two. And if it's leaking, then you're at risk for infection and, like that kind of thing. So they were like, we're going to need to to give your water some assistance in breaking. So I remember sitting on this hospital bed with the obstetrician, and he's got his crochet hook to break the water. And so he kind of says cheerfully, like, "You ready to have this baby?" And I remember, like, I didn't say this out loud, but I remember I had this reaction of, no, 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 no. Like, I don't want to do this. It's just this sensation of shit's getting real, you know? And so that day on the way to the airport, I was having all of those feelings because it's this sense of, I wanted to do this. I've been excited about it. I felt my soul pull towards it. And then the ego needs to go through a death because the old identity is dying. You're stepping through a portal, and the ego can throw up some last defenses. And so there can be a lot of fear with that. So I was having a lot of fear kicking up. I was quite tearful. Um, thoughts going through my mind of like, what the fuck did I just do to myself? What if this is insane? And for the first several days, that thought went through my head a lot. Like, this is insane. What are you doing? What, like, why are you doing this to yourself? This is crazy. Because it was so disorienting to not have a single element of my life the same. So that means nobody around me that I'm used to is around me. Like, no reference point, no external reference point to my identity. Not even the climate was the same. The scenery isn't the same. The climate isn't the same. The language isn't the same. The music of the birds isn't the same. You know, the just nature music. There's nothing the same. I mean, the amount of daylight isn't the same. Like everything, the food isn't the same. The water doesn't taste the same. Like, to literally not have a single element familiar to you, it was very like it was quite disorienting. Um, but I was able to, like, I didn't go into collapse at all. Um, but it was like, what the fuck am I doing to myself? What have I done to myself? Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this to myself? Is, some of the things that were going through my mind. And that's ego, the last death throes of ego and identity, right? And so what I can say on day 10 now, and having figured out mostly what I need to do to take care of myself and have be grounded, and make sure I'm eating well and eating regularly and moving my body and doing all of the self-care things that create grounding and stability and consistency, and all of that kind of thing. Like, I'm starting to feel good. I'm starting to get into a routine. Um, I'm starting to do a little bit more work. So that was kind of starting to get to me too, is the mental picture, my expectation of like, oh, I'll just, I'll have a work block every day, and then just literally not having the bandwidth or the capacity to do that. Um, started to get to me too. So this idea of like perception versus reality, and feeling like I didn't have enough time in the day or enough bandwidth to be able to do the things that my brain was telling me needed to be done, in order to be safe, essentially, to generate revenue and to serve clients, and those kinds of things, right? Like, so your brain starts to send off alarm bells to do that. So, anyways, that is the truth files for day 10. I wanted to make sure that I recorded this again, mostly for myself, so that I can look back on this and really see the progression of how things are going. I actually want to say this too. This popped into my head. I had an idea because I know that I'm here. I'm in this place until August 12th. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to leave for Peru at that point. Like, that was my initial thought, is like, okay, well, then I will have been here for my 4 weeks, which I thought I'd be in Costa Rica for 4 to 6 weeks as sort of a launch pad. And then I could go to Peru. But then I also got thinking that, maybe I don't have to go to Peru right away. Maybe I could do something like go to Nosara and maybe spend a little bit of time there because I know that that's a place of spiritual and energetic significance. And I got to thinking maybe a client would like to come down and have do retreat style work in the sense of having an intensive right in Costa Rica, utilize the land, the transformative power of the land, and all of these codes that are starting to come through me, infuse that into the work. And so I thought, well, that's a possibility. So some ideas are starting to percolate as to what I might be able to do here or what might be available. Um, but I just thought I'd, again, record this for posterity and then if there's anything that you, the listener, are taking out of this for yourself as you're contemplating maybe some big moves or some unconventional things or off the beaten path things, that I hope that this has been helpful for you too. And then I think that's it. I think in some of the other ones, I'll maybe start getting into kind of the longer term or the bigger picture of, why I wanted to take this year as an initiatic path. But this initial, like just calibrating myself to being a traveler for a period of time, I think has been really important. And this heat is such a detox. It is like I literally feel like I'm sweating out the North American nervous system, the North American identity through this. Like it's a wild, powerful land. And so there's a real break in identity happening and a reexamination of habits and patterns and perspectives and things like that. So it's serving its purpose and I'm just listening. I'm listening to where I'm being guided next. And so it might just be that I'm tucked in here for a little bit while I get my bearings, and then I shove off to some sacred sites and that kind of thing. Because I'd really love to. I want to do Machu Picchu. I think I mentioned that in another video. But there's some things that I want to do, and Peru is like it's cool there right now. It's their winter. So I would actually be able to wear pants again. Um, so yeah, I guess I was meant to be here to sweat out, to detox first. It's probably what's going on. That feels correct. I think this is a little bit of a detox phase before I kind of forge ahead again. So, anyways, that is day 3, my 3rd episode of the Truth Files, but actually day 10 of my adventure. So, thank you for listening and comment. Let me know if you've got questions or comments or reflections, helpful hints, and I'll see you next time. Ta-ta.